Hurricane Helene has been one of the most destructive and devastating storms to hit South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. This storm caused massive destruction, massive damage, and there are still people missing, and the death count rises every single day. This was a storm that no one thought was going to grow as fast as it did, that no one thought was going to turn the way it turned, that no one thought was going to have the power behind it when it did hit the interlying landlocked states. This storm was basically our Hurricane Katrina. In today's video, we're going to talk about some lessons learned and how we as a community can be better prepared for the next one. So the first lesson learned: have a generator. Buy a generator. Have a freaking generator. Have a gosh darn generator. Have a dang generator. Have a daggum generator. Have a damn generator. Have a freaking generator. So my area is basically Clemson, South Carolina. If you are looking on a map, it is in the top left corner of South Carolina. And the eye of the storm, the eye of Hurricane Helene, went right over Clemson and Seneca area, South Carolina. People in my local area were not nearly as bad affected as people of Western North Carolina and parts of Tennessee. And I say that because if you would hop online on the Facebook groups, on the local news, on the local radio stations, you would think that we were the ones that were totally affected, that we were the ones that were living in Asheville, that we were the ones living in Chimney Rock. We had some power outages. We still have some power outages, and this is Tuesday morning. We had some trees down. We still have trees down, and again, it's a couple days since the storm. We still have some cell phone outages. But for the most part, my area was not that affected. You knew a hurricane was coming. You knew a storm was coming. We got what we got. We get what we always get, which is power outages and trees down. 90% of my area was without power. 50% of South Carolina was without power at one point in time. But that is our biggest thing. We were without power. Okay, not that big of a deal, but so many people have gotten online, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the news, the local radio stations, and sat and complained because they lost food. Have sat and complained because they lost ice cream in their freezer. Have sat and complained because they can't watch their local show. Have sat and complained because they couldn't watch Clemson play Stanford a couple days later. Most of their problems could have been solved last week for about $250, maybe $300. But instead, they chose not to buy a generator. Instead, they chose to go out and buy that new purse, to buy that new fancy dinner, to go out and buy new toys for their kids or a new Xbox or whatever the case was. And now here it is a week or so later, and they're still complaining about not having power. And I get it, guys. I understand not having power is a pain in the butt. But you don't understand how fortunate my area is when you compare it to somewhere like Asheville. When you compare it to somewhere like Chimney Rock, when you compare it to parts of Tennessee, we don't understand how fortunate we are that our biggest complaint is not having power. If you're a single mom of 17 kids and you're living in an apartment and you're only working at McDonald's one day a week, I get it. Maybe you can't afford a $300, $400, $500 generator. But the people I work with, the people who work at these massive plants in my local area that are making ungodly amounts of money, they can afford a generator. Why they don't have one blows my damn mind. Because now they're sitting here going, well, I just don't understand how in America we can't have electricity. Do you guys understand that a massive Category 4 storm just came through here? Do you guys understand that there are parts of Chimney Rock that are buried under 3 foot of mud right now? Do you understand that Asheville is turning into a Mad Max situation because there's no roads out? But you want to sit here, bitch, and complain on TikTok and Facebook that there's no electricity, that you can't watch your daily soap operas? If you are going to complain about not having power and you refuse to buy a generator even after these storms hit, it's on you. Lesson learned number 2, if you're going to have a generator, use it sparingly. I can't tell you how many people that I have sat and I have watched have a generator. Yay, good job. But then they want to run their entire house on said generator and then wonder why they're out of gas after the first 24 hours. If you start up your generator and you plug everything into your house on it, it's going to use a lot of fuel. I was talking to one guy and he said his generator uses about 10 gallons a day because he runs his whole house. Not the AC unit, but everything else in his house. Well, how much stuff do you actually need to run? Not that much. If you have a generator, use it sparingly. Do not run a generator just to charge your phone. Do not run a generator just to watch an hour or two of television. Don't run a generator just to leave the bathroom light on so the kids have something to see. That generator needs to last you until the event is over, or at least as close to possible as you can get it. Again, Clemson, South Carolina, if you go east about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, you get to Greenville, Spartanburg area. And while they weren't affected as bad as Asheville, as far as Chimney Rock, as far as Tennessee goes, they ran out of fuel because they did have a massive power outage. And so Friday after the storm hits, everyone's plugging up their generators, everyone's filling up their cars, running their cars to charge their phones, and people are running out of gas because the gas stations didn't open up till Saturday, until Sunday. And some of those gas stations were only limiting you to 5 gallons at a time. But because people said, nope, I got a generator, I'm going to run it full blast nonstop for 24 hours, guess what? Your 5 gallons of gas, poof, it's gone. I understand you want to have electricity. I understand you want to save your stuff. I get it. But you can ration that generator. So for my house specifically, I do have solar generators where I can put the solar panels out in the sun. We did run out of power for like 7 hours. We get power back, not that big of a deal. I think we plugged the fridge up for like 2 hours, right? That's our biggest use for this storm. So again, not very affected. If I had to run on a gasoline generator for a long period of time, what I would do is focus on the freezers, and I've said this in other videos, the freezers are my most important things. Run the freezers once every 6 to 12 hours for about an hour to 2 hours, right? You don't have to run them constantly. You don't have to run your refrigerator constantly. Plug it up for an hour or two, unplug it. And then that would be the only time that I was charging cell phones or the battery bricks or whatever else I had. I would not be using my generator to keep my refrigerator going. I would eliminate that fridge as soon as possible. Go through it, the ham, the cheese, the milk, the eggs, whatever, use all that up as fast and as quick as possible. Then keep the freezers cold. If I'm only plugging my generator up for either 2 hours or 4 hours a day, then that tank of fuel that I have that lasts for 16 hours will last somewhere between 4 and 8 days. 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day, or 4 hours a day, or 4 hours a day, or whatever the case is. But instead, if I'm running it for 24 hours, that 16-hour window I have is going to be eliminated in a single day. If you have a generator, which you should because of, number one, use it sparingly. Lesson learned number 3 is have food on hand. This stuff was not purchased just to make this video. This stuff was not purchased just to have me talk about for a minute and then I go get rid of it. This is stuff that I have in my pantry 99.9% of the time. This is stuff that you can walk in my door today, you can walk in my door a year from now, and I'm going to have some sort of variation of the items you see on the table. Have food on hand, and I don't care if you are in the wake of the storm. I don't care if you never get storms in your life. I don't care if you even believe in storms. And all this was a government conspiracy cover-up. Have some sort of food on hand. Tennessee is a landlocked state. Tennessee is between 8 and 10 and 15 hours away from an ocean. But yet, they had a hurricane roll into their area. Asheville, Tennessee, which is about 2 hours away from where I live, does not get hit with storms, does not get hit with hurricanes, especially not Category 4 storms that hit the coast of Florida hours before. But it did. And right now, at the time of this recording, there was one grocery store opened up in Asheville, Tennessee. There was a 2.5-hour wait to get inside that grocery store. And when inside the grocery store, they were cash only. And because they were cash only, a lot of the people standing in line had no clue that they were cash only. And a lot of the stuff that they had was gone. All the freezer stuff, all the meats, everything you would think you could pick up, the frozen pizzas, the Totinos, everything was gone. What was left? Your pantry staples. That was about it. But then it was things that you might not even eat. It might have not been this nice white bread. It might have been some wheat bread. It might not have been SpaghettiOs. Instead, it was some knockoff vegan who knows what in a can. Because that's all that's left. They are limiting the amount of people that can be in the store at the time. They are limiting the amount of stuff you can buy at the time. Hell, I am 2 hours away from most of the death and destruction, but yet my local grocery store, 3 minutes up the road, is cash only because the Ingalls Market, located in North Carolina, got hit. Not that big of a deal if you have cash, and if you don't have cash, you have an ATM nearby you. But for the people who don't have an ATM, who don't have power, who are in the middle of this death and destruction, it's a big deal. Friday morning when the storm hit, it hit about 8 o'clock in my local area. By that afternoon, my town was still without power, but yet the next town over, with the only hospital in the county, did get power back. To get a sit-down spot at any of the restaurants in my next town over was a 2.5-hour wait. That's drive-through, that is call-ins, that is takeouts, that is to-go orders, that is just to sit down in the restaurant 2.5 hours for one meal. It blows my mind that after years of preparedness being mainstream, and we had television shows and we had doomsday preppers and people talking about being prepared, that still people cannot survive if the power goes out for a couple of hours. And again, I'm not taking shots at people in Western North Carolina and Asheville and Tennessee, mostly more at people in my area. Because somehow the power goes out and you guys forget that milk and cereal exist. You forget that Pop-Tarts exist in your pantry. You go, oh, woe is me, I'm going to starve to death because I have no power. You know, there's still that gallon of milk that's going to go bad. You still have ham and cheese in your fridge that's going to go bad. Why don't you open that shit up and go to town on it? But instead, people think that they have to have a hot meal because the power goes out. A lot of people say you don't need electricity to survive. I, for one, will tell you that gosh darn 99% of my community needs electricity to survive because they are too dumb to understand that they have edible food and you don't have to have the power on to eat the food. Have food in your pantry. Next lesson learned, you need water. This is water, H2O, Bobby Boucher's biggest friend, Bobby Boucher's best friend, next to his mama. You need water to survive. You have to have water. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to have water to survive. And I understand most of us Americans do not drink the recommended daily amount of water anyways, but you should have it. They say in a prepping community, you need 1 gallon per person per day. Cool. Most people aren't going to drink a gallon of water per day, but that's okay. Because if you have 3 gallons, that means you have 3 days worth of water. If you don't drink a gallon per day, guess what? You can expand it to 6 days. Congratulations. The places that were strongly affected by this storm, they had a ton of water. They had water in their houses. They had water in the rivers that were now flooding the streets. They had water that was rushing their house 20 miles downstream. They had plenty of water, but none of it was drinkable. None of it was safe to drink. None of it was available for drinking. Have water bottles, have water cases of water, have water jugs, have water bricks, have water available to you. And if you don't, have a way to make water that you find safe to drink. Behind me on this side is the Hydro Blue water filter. I've used it before on a lake, and you can filter 100 gallons a day. That doesn't mean that that water is purified. It doesn't mean that the viruses are removed, but it is at least cleared of contaminants. Sawyer Mini, Sawyer Micro, even the dreaded Life Straw that I can't stand, it is still something, and it's better than nothing. The Grail water filter, the Katadyn water filter systems, the Life Straw Go systems, Berkey, Alexa Pure, there's a million different ones out here, okay guys? Even TikTok shop sells water filters. Have a way to have clean drinking water. Have some in your house, but also have a way to make water safe to drink. Hurricane Helene reminds me a lot of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, where people were creating bamboo structures to get the water off of the mountain and get it into the towns and the cities, because the water that was available was pools of who knows what water. People pissed in those waters. There was oil in that water. There was the groundwater that who knows what was in it. So people made bamboo structures to get the water from the mountains downriver. But again, that water's coming off the mountain. It's a little bit cleaner, but is it super safe to drink? It's better than that pool of who knows what water, but I would still find a way to at least filter it. Again, the Sawyer Water Filtering Company is not worried about viruses in a third world country. I would agree to that when the water levels go down and they start getting cleared back up. But when you've got houses floating, you've got cars floating, you've got dead bodies floating in the water, I would worry about viruses, okay? Have water. 1 gallon per person per day. Then have a way to collect and gather water and filter it in massive quantities. The reason I dislike the Life Straw is because it is a single use. The whole purpose of the Life Straw is to drink your water from it. You cannot move that water anywhere. You cannot flow that water anywhere. You cannot share with a buddy or a friend. I recommend picking up the Hydro Blue kit even if you don't like Hydro Blue, because this one right here does come with the element that's right there, the bucket filter, and we've done videos on the bucket filter where you can filter enough water for the entire community simply with a $25 product. And maybe you don't like the Hydro Blue. Maybe you say, well, Sawyer's the way to go. Fine, it's okay. Buy this just to have the backup water filter and to have the bucket element. And then you can attach your Sawyer to the exact same line you can attach this Hydro Blue. And then if your Sawyer goes bad because it keeps collecting contaminants, hey, swap over to this. Berkey's and Alexa Pures are amazing, but they are so damn slow that it is really only for about 2 to 3 people. If you're thinking, what am I going to do about my neighbors and my friends and the entire city block? Alexa Pure and Berkey is not the way to go. Great water filters, great water purifiers, but they are so damn slow. The Grails, great for one person. Have a way to get clean drinking water into you. Have a way to get clean drinking water into your community. So the next lesson learned is have a way to boil water and cook some food. You don't have to be this fancy hibachi chef to have a nice warm meal while the power's out, or while there's a storm rolling through, or while your area is under mud right now. Sterno, let's start off with this. You can buy this stuff at Walmart. Sterno Camping, normal Sterno, both will boil water. One of the last examples I said is having clean drinking water, right? I can filter the hound out of my water, but it might still have a virus in it, especially knowing what's coming down the river. I want to make sure that water is safe and clean to drink by boiling the water or chemical treatment. Me personally, I don't like drinking bleach, so I'm going to boil it. The way to do that is something like Sterno. Sterno will boil water 100%. I have proven it. You just have to have a stainless steel container. This is a little self-contained little thing that I have yet to do a video on, but you put isopropyl alcohol in here or DEET in here. You light it up, and these little rings right here are going to flame up. Then you put your pot or something over it. I suggest if you're going to do any of these on this side of the table, having something like this sterno pot holder, or at least a couple of bricks. That way you can light this up, put it in here, not let it fall down, but then put your pot on top. It is self-contained. It's one unit, right? And the sternos fit in here. Even the City Bonfire fits in here, right? And so now you're not worried about, am I going to burn something down? It's all self-contained. This is City Bonfires. We've done a couple videos on it. It is specialty ordered. You do have to order it from the site or Amazon. You can't cook over it. I don't recommend cooking something directly on it, but you can put a frying pan over here, especially if it's sitting on top of something like this, and do up some eggs, do up some water for your rice, do up some, you know, whatever, but it is a way to cook. These right here are isobutane stoves. These stoves are the most expensive part of the isobutane next to the fuel. So this is like $10. It's the E-Tech City. It's got a million different names. It's orange. This one is the BRS 3000. It's got a million different names. It is lighter weight and much smaller, but either way, you hook these up to an isobutane can, and now you can cook, you can boil water, and you can get at like 10, 15, 20 bowls off of one of those cans, depending on how big they are. This right here is the Fire Maple. It is basically the Jet Boil knockoff, and it's like half the price. It will boil water in like 2 minutes. It's super quick, but it is bulky, big, expensive, but it's an option, right? And this is a massive canister. I think it's like 1.5 liters or something. So it is a lot of water. It's not just a little bit of water for a cup of coffee. It is a lot of water being boiled at one time. Again, it runs on the isobutane stoves, and one does fit inside of it. Have some sort of options, because now you go from your basic necessities of just Pop-Tarts and cold SpaghettiOs to expanding. Now you can cook whatever's in your freezer. How would I do that? Well, you know, not the best option, but I can boil some chicken in here and then season it up or something. I could fry something over this using the sterno. Sterno does only give one little hot spot, but you get the right pot, the right pan, and at least now you expand your options. GoSun solar ovens are a great option if you have the sun. Unfortunately, the last couple days it has not been sunny, but today it was. So you had 2 days without cooking, and then 1 day you can actually cook. You can get the solar E-trays, which plug up into any 12-volt outlet like in your car. Now you have a way to cook in your vehicle, right? Have some way to cook. Now, if you own your own home, if you own your own house, even if you live in an apartment, maybe you can do something like some sort of a grill outside. I had a buddy that I talked to at work, and he said one of his first things that he could find at Walmart was a charcoal grill. He lives in an apartment. He has no other option to cook other than electricity, and that's been out for almost a week now. So he went and bought a charcoal grill and a bag of tuber charcoal and a couple little things of lighter fluid, and now he's grilling up everything inside of his freezer. I have watched so many videos of people talking about how they're having to get sticks and wood to boil water to cook their meals because there's not been any power, because there's not anything left in some of these communities. Me personally, I enjoy cooking over an open fire when I'm camping, not when I'm at home and that is my only option of having a warm meal. Have something that you can cook with. Have something to cook. Again, basic pantry staples go a long way in situations like this. So have some sort of cooking system. Up next is a basic small electricity. Have ways to make small amounts of electricity. A little bit of electricity goes a long way. People have been without power for almost a week now. And in some cases, they're not expected to be back on until the week after. So it's going to be 2.5 weeks of not having electricity. Again, I said it earlier, if you have a generator, don't just run the generator to charge yourself on. That is stupid. That is a great waste of gas. You don't want that. Your generator should be for your freezers, your fridge at the beginning, but get rid of the fridge, okay? Small amounts of electricity. Headlamps, rechargeable or battery operated headlamps. If you have batteries, make sure you have a lot more batteries on the back, right? Rechargeables I prefer because then I can recharge it via something like this. This is one of many solar panels I have. It is not designed to power a home. It is not designed to recharge a big power station like my Ecoflow units. All this is designed is to recharge a battery bank, is to recharge a power brick thing that they call them, whatever, for your cell phones, for your headlamps. This is like a 13 watter. I could put this out in the sun, put the battery in it all day, angle it right, and then at the end of the day, go out, get my little battery bank and recharge my phone. I could directly hook this up to my phone. Maybe that's an option. Or hook this up to a headlamp, right? Go out there every couple hours, check it. Okay, this one's charged, move on to the next one. Simple ways, because there are people right now who are without power. There are people right now who are dealing with not having any form of electricity other than a couple lanterns, couple battery powered lanterns, couple battery powered flashlights. How long is it going to take for them to get batteries? Are batteries available in places like Asheville? Chances are probably not. That town is completely shut off from the outside world and they are having to helicopter supplies in. You think the helicopters give a shit about batteries? Not really. They care about getting food and water and diapers to these people. They don't care that you don't have a flashlight. So be your own rescue. Make sure you have your own supplies and make sure you have backups to those supplies. You don't have to go out here and buy a massive $4,000 solar generator and plug it up to your house and have 15 solar panels sitting on top of it. You don't have to go out here and buy a $900 generator. You don't have to go out here and expect to go off grid. Flip your lights off for a day and ask yourself, where do I begin? What do I need to start? You need simple lights. It is hard to do search and rescue without lights. It is hard to go check on your neighbors when there's destruction outside and it is pitch black and you can't see nothing. Have simple lights. Headlamps, flashlights, lanterns, rechargeable, right? This, if your phone goes dead, is going to be hard to communicate with the outside world. Right now, there's places that have internet capabilities, but don't have cellular capabilities. Again, in Asheville, there's one Publix open, and it has internet, and it has power, but the cell phone network is down. So a lot of people are getting on Facebook and TikTok and making videos like, hey, I'm safe, I'm good to go. You know, my house is destroyed, but I'm at least safe. Well, you can't stay at Publix the entire time. They obviously shut the store down at some point. But at least that way you can go there with a charged cell phone and not have to fight for one of the 4 outlets that that store has. Simple things will help get you through. Again, something like this, you recharge a battery bank and then you pass it out to the neighbors. You say, hey neighbors, let me help you. It doesn't take much to lend a helping hand. And a simple charge on a cell phone or passing them out a headlamp that they can use for a couple of days and then bring back to you and recharge it goes a long way. Now, apocalyptic situation, you know, this event lasts for 2 months and y'all are bartering trading, hey, that's completely different. This is why you need to prep up. This is why you need to stock up. Because a landlocked area was obliterated. Who's to say if you live in Oklahoma or Kansas or Kentucky or, you know, who knows where, California, you won't be hit with the next storm. You won't be the front page of the news media next week. It doesn't have to be a hurricane, but California is always on fire. Kentucky, if they get enough rain, they're going to have mudslides. Oklahoma and Kansas, man, E4, E5 tornadoes rip through there all the time. This area was not ready. This area was not prepared. This area was not in any way, shape, or the form expecting what they got. Prep up, stock up, be ready. Hopefully you're not next, but you will experience something in your life that slaps you in the face. And for my area and for this area in Western North Carolina and Tennessee, this was it. But just because we get one doesn't mean that next week we won't get another one. Please go stock up. Please go be ready. Y'all take care.